Hi all. Today in this lecture, this is lecture number 3, project planning in construction. So in my previous lecture 1 and 2, I had discussed about construction as an industry, construction industry, lecture 1, lecture 2, construction as an industry in lecture 2. So uh, to start with project planning in construction. In my lecture 2, I had discussed, I had told about uh, the project management functions. The various project management functions where the planning, scheduling, controlling, staffing, yeah, all those things were in project management functions. So in this today's lecture, I'll be dealing with project planning in construction. So all those project management functions, the major project management functions, I'll be discussing in this lecture 3. So the lecture objectives, at the end of these lectures, the students should be able to identify the various project management tools used in construction management. So we have different softwares, not only softwares, we have uh, analytical tools that we use for project management functions. So those things the student should be able to understand. The next outcome of this lecture is to identify the steps involved in project monitoring and control. The third outcome of this lecture is explain project control with respect to construction projects. Discuss next outcome is the discuss the concept of S curve and earned value management, that we call it as EVM, earned value management. So these are the uh, lecture objectives of this lecture number 3. Project planning. So what do you mean by project planning? What do you understand by project planning? I told you about the definition of project in lecture number 1. The definition of a project. What actually is a project? A project is a non-routine, non-repetitive work to execute some non-routine, non-repetitive work with the constraints like time and space. So we have a constraint, we have to perform a non-routine, non-repetitive work. So then what do you mean by project planning? What means project planning? Project planning is nothing but drawing up a method or a scheme of acting, doing, proceeding, making, etc. developed in advance. Okay, so I told you the definition of a project. It is a non-routine, non-repetitive work. For that non-routine, non-repetitive work, you should be having a plan. Okay, let me take an example for you. You have to construct a two-story house for residential purpose. You want to construct a two-story residential house. So what are the plans you are having? So in the month of January, you start in the month of January, January 1st, you are going to commence the project. So at the end of the month, that is January 31st, what are the things that has to be completed? Okay, that activities that has to be completed is called as planning. So you are going to plan, you are going to draw up a method, you are going to fix up the activities or a scheme of acting, doing, proceeding, making, etc. developed in advance. You want to construct a house, you are going to plan. It has to be finished within 3 months, it has to be finished within 4 months. At the end of 1 month, uh, the excavation and other things has to be completed. At the end of month 3, the all the finishing works has to be completed. At the end of month 4, the interior works has to be completed. Like that, you plan something in advance for the project. That itself we call it as a project planning. Here, don't get confused with the planning, the terminology called as planning. See, there are some things called as building planning. Building planning means you are going to draw upper drawings. Okay, that is a building planning. Here, the project planning means you are going to develop the activities in advance. You are going to allocate the resources in advance. That's why we call it as project planning. So next, here in project planning, what you are going to do? You are going to use the optimum utilization of different resources. Uh, Taking an example of that residential house itself. So for the month one, you might require less number of labors, but at the month two, for brickwork, foundation work, construction activity, concreting, all those things, you might be requiring more number of labors. Okay, um, the planning of resources. The resources here means, okay, we call it as four M's. Okay, the resources here itself we call them as four M's. So what do you mean by this four M's? Four M's are nothing but resources. We call it as four M's. Four M's means money, manpower, machinery, material, and all these things are bound by a time. Okay, we call them as resources. Okay, optimum utilization of resources. Okay, so this we call it as four M's. So manpower, planning of manpower, machinery, material. So optimum utilization of different resources means you are going to plan for manpower, material, machinery within a specified time. Okay, within a specified time. Taking an example of that residential house itself, in the month one, you don't need too much of resources, but at the month two, you might be requiring more number of labors. For if there is more number of labors, you are going to require more number of money. Okay, the planning of all these resources for that particular time. Month one, we require more labor. Month two, we require again more labor. Month three, less number of labor. In month four, we will be having a finishing works. Like that, you plan for different resources at different point of time. That's what we call as project planning. That is what we call it as project planning. So in project planning, what you will be doing, you will be ensuring appropriate preparedness at all time. Okay, ensuring appropriate preparedness at all time for a successful completion of project. For a successful completion of project. Okay, this is what the terminology project planning means to you. Okay, what are the basic concepts in the development of construction plans? So what you are going to plan here? So I told you there is a project planning to be done earlier. Okay, it acts as a base for any project. You are going to get preparedness for all the time. So what concepts you are going to prepare? What concepts you should be doing earlier? The first and foremost concept is choice of technology. So choice of technology. Taking an example of your house itself. So if you are constructing a two-story house, what kind of technology you are going to adapt? So what is the technology you are going to adapt? Technology might be you are going for a conventional type of construction, that is uh, the load bearing structure of a wall, load bearing construction type of wall, or whether you're going to RC frame, that is a reinforced concrete framed type of construction, or you are going to adopt a very new technology in 2021. You are going to adopt a new technology called as precast technology for your house. Like that, what kind of technology you are going to adopt for your house, that is what we have to fix up in the planning stage of a construction. Okay, that is what we are going to plan. What do you mean by project plan? Project planning itself involves all these things. What type of technology, choice of technology. The next the next concept of planning is definition of work tasks. So what do you mean by definition of work task? Work task means uh, for example, if you take the residential house construction itself, what are the different work tasks involved? The first work task starts with, okay, the first work starts with identification of the site where you are going to construct your house. You are going to want to construct a house. Uh, the first work task, what you will be doing? You will be identifying the location, identifying the suitable site. That is the first work task. So once you identify the site, the next work task, the second work task, what you will be doing? Okay, once you identify the site, you will be doing preliminary investigations or preliminary site investigations. It might be surveying, it might be soil testing, geological investigations, water resource investigations for that particular site, okay, the locality of that site, okay, that investigation is one of the work task. Once you identify, freeze everything, the site has been freezed. The next thing what you will be doing, you will be starting with the marking of the site, marking the line marking for the site. So where the foundation has to be laid, where actually it starts, the marking of the site will be starting. Okay, so once marking has been done, what you will be doing? The marking is the third work task. So after marking, what you will be doing? Once the marking has been finished, you will be starting with the excavation. For what purpose? Excavation is the fourth work task. So excavation is the fourth work task. What you will be doing in excavation? Excavation usually will be uh, calling the laborers, we'll be hiring the equipments. We do the excavation as per the plan. Okay, we have got some structural plan, so how much quantity excavation has to be done, everything will be planned earlier. We are going to excavate as per the plan. After excavation, then the foundation is laid, the formwork will be done, reinforcement will be done, concreting will be done, the foundation will be completed, then plinth beam will be there. After plinth beam, the starter of column will be laid. After starter of column, it continues to, once column has been completed, then beam and slab concrete. If it is RC structure, beam and slab concreting will be done. Beam and slab concreting has been completed for the first floor. Then you will go for the second floor. By that time, parallelly you will be doing brick work. You will be doing flooring work for the different activities. Like that, we are going to define different work tasks here in the planning stage. So, estimation of the required resources and duration for individual tasks. What actually is the estimation of required resources and durations for the individual task? Now you have identified surveying of the site. So for the surveying, what are the different resources you required? Different resources for surveying means you might be requiring a surveyor, will be in need of laborers. Not only surveyor, you might require some equipments like levels. You might require total stations. Once you get all the surveying, you might need a suitable software to calculate everything. Okay, those are called as the resources and durations for individual tasks. So you might have identified surveying as task number 2. So for surveying, how many days it will take? It might take 2 days. Okay, then excavation is next activity to surveying. So how many days the excavation might happen? For a simple site of 120 feet by 80 feet, it will, if you doing the excavation, usually it will take about 2 to 3 days. So this, for each and every task or a defined activity, you are going to allocate the resources. The resources might be again manpower, machinery, money and time. You are going to allocate the resources. That is the third part of planning. Now you have completed 3 things. So you have completed the choice of technology, you might have completed the, so you have completed the definition of work task, you have identified the estimation of required resources, durations and individual task. So now you are going to identify the interaction between different work tasks. So you have different work tasks involved, right? So what is the relation between excavation and surveying? So once survey has been completed, you can do excavation. Once excavation has been completed, you can do the next procedure. Okay, what? Once excavation has been completed, you can do the foundation work. Okay, the connection between the tasks, interaction between the tasks will be established in this particular planning stage. That is what here it has been explained, choice of technology and construction method. So what actually we do in objectives of technical analysis? The objectives of technical analysis is, primary objective is to check feasibility, what kind of machinery is suitable for the site. If I use the advanced machinery, what it will be costing. If I use the conventional machinery, how much it will be costing. Okay, for example, I told you brickwork and precast. If I use brickwork kind of structure, how much it will be costing. So instead, if I want to go adapt a very new technology of 2021, if I go for a precast structure, how much it will be costing, what is the feasibility at the site. So my building is too small to adopt precast technology, and it will be too costly if I adopt. So if I adopt brickwork kind of technology, it will be cheaper. Okay, so like that, feasibility analysis at the site, okay, will be the primary objective for choice of technology. Okay, the next is secondary objective in choice of technology. What actually is secondary objective? Most optimal formulation. Most optimal formulation means combination of the technology or combination of the resources. So today if I procure 5 laborers at the site, it will be enough. Tomorrow I require 10 laborers, like that. The combination required for the resources will be done in the most optimal formulation. Okay, the cost of the project on daily basis, on monthly basis, on weekly basis will be assessed here. So the cost of the project here is involved with the most optimal formation. Okay, choice of technology here involves what are the activities involved in technical analysis. So you want to choose a freeze upon a particular technology. What are the activities involved in technical analysis? So the first activity involved in technical analysis is a technology selection. So technology selection, if I take the precast technology itself, so how you are going to adapt that precast technology, whether precast technology is suitable, whether the conventional load bearing structure is suitable, or if you want to go for some other technology that is uh, a monolithic kind of structure, whether that technology is suitable. So these things will be done in the first step activity, or first activity in the technical analysis. The second activity in technical analysis is the material and utilities input requirements. So what are the materials required? What are the what can I say? What are the utilities? Utilities means provisional provisions. So it might be uh, the space requirement at the site. Uh, for example, if you take the precast technology itself, the precast panels has to be placed in a particular way. If you are going to use a brickwork technology, the bricks can be stacked however you want. But if you are using precast panels, you have to provide a suitable space for stacking up of those panels. So that comes in the material and utilities input requirements. Then the third activity in technical analysis is a flexibility in product mix. Here you can take up the ready mix concrete construction, or RMC, ready mix concrete, as a the best suitable example here. So ready mix concrete technology, if I use the ready mix concrete technology as a technology selection, what are the materials and utilities input required? It might be a mixed design, the material or the type of aggregates I am going to use, the type of sand, fine aggregate we are going to use. Okay, those things comes under uh, the material and input requirements. Then flexibility in product means, flexibility in product means mix means whether you are going to do the mixing at the site, or whether you are going to get a, what is a ready mix concrete plant, you are going to get a mix from um, the factory itself or the production site itself. So whether they are going to adapt to volume batching, or whether they are going to adapt to wave batching, again it depends on the plant capacity. So the plant capacity means you are having a simple two-story residential house, then absolutely a conventional or a very nominal ready mix concrete plant can supply your requirements. But if the construction is too big, in case of some metro construction projects where the continuous supply of ready mix concrete should be there, in such cases what you are going to do, whether you are going to set up a new plant, or whether you are going to uh, use the existing plants and get transported the concrete from those plants. Okay, so the plant capacity plays a major role here. Then the location and size of the project, that's what I told you. The location and size of the project means whether it is a simple house, or whether it is a uh, mass project, very large project which requires continuous supply of mixture of concrete, that is called as location and size of the project. Then The last activity in technical analysis is machinery and equipments. Okay, what kind of machineries and equipments do you require? You might have seen the ready-mix concrete will be supplied in the particular transit mixers. So they will be having a transit mixers of what capacity? If it is a simple two-story building, you might require a very small transit mixer. It would be sufficient enough. But if it is a very large project, you require a continuous supply of concrete. Then the capacity of the transit mixers also has to be huge, as well as the batching plant also should be huge to meet the needs of the project. Okay, that is the last activity in the technical analysis. Okay, so in technology selections, we look after plant capacity, material and utilities input requirements, investment outlay, and production cost. Investment outlay means I told you in huge projects, usually they will be setting up the ready-mix concrete plants at the site itself. Instead, if they opt for another options, if they want, if they bring ready-mix concrete from outsource, means from the other part, how much it will be costing. Instead, if they set up a ready mix concrete mixing plant at the site itself, how much it will be costing. So the production cost and the investment outlay, this comparison will be made. Okay, so used by the other units, flexibility in product units, latest developments, appropriateness of technology, all these factors will be studied in the technological selection part. So the capacity and all those things will be studied here. So the plant capacity here involves technological requirements, might include input constraints, the market conditions because the rate of the price of ready mix concrete per meter cube might vary from place to place. Okay, if there is place A, okay, if there is a place A and point B, okay, if the mixing plant is here, okay, the distance from A and B from a ready mix plant is different. Okay, that is, we call it as a uh, uh, the market conditions. So if they want to supply for B, the cost will be lesser. If they want to supply for A, the cost will be more. Okay, that is, we call it as the market conditions. Then comes to be investment cost and resource of the firms. So investment cost and resource of the firms means some companies are very small in nature. They usually will not be having a capacity to hire the people, or they will be limited in budget. Okay, so within that budget they have to outsource many things, or they have to complete the activities. So the options, okay, the options whatever they are having, within that they have to execute the project. That is, we call it as the resource of the firms. Then coming to material and utilities input requirements, the materials and utility means raw materials. Again, taking an example of ready mix concrete plant, the raw materials here usually will be coarse aggregate, fine aggregate, and cement. Okay, the coarse aggregate, what type of coarse aggregate is available at the site? Okay, whether you need to procure it from a farther place, or the resource or that particular source is very near to the site. And if it is a fine aggregate, whether you are getting a river sand as a fine aggregate, or you are going to get the artificial sand or M sand as a raw material, what kind of cement is available. Okay, those studies will be made in the technological selection. Okay, then processed industrial materials and components. Usually what happens is we will be using some of the reused or recycled materials, or sometimes the stone quarry might be nearby. So that will help in the processed industrial materials. So the next is auxiliary materials and factory supplies and utilities. So the product mix flexibility of technology, and plan regarding product mix will be done in this technological selection part. Location and site selection. If there is nearness to the raw materials and market, definitely the cost will be lesser. If the raw materials are readily nearly available to the site, as I told you, if I take point A, point B, and the ready mix concrete site plant is near to the point A, but it is further to the point B. So definitely the site A will be having more beneficial because of the lesser cost, because of the nearness to the raw materials and the market availability. Then availability of infrastructure. If they are having a proper transportation facility, suitable roads are there, suitable accessible conditions are there, there is lesser traffic for during the transportation. So okay, all these things matter in the availability of infrastructure. Again, infrastructure might be availability of land. The land is not too costly and it is lesser in cost. The hiring cost is too less, and the water availability for ready mix concrete is abundant in nature, or it is a very good quality of water, like that. So all the availability of infrastructure matters for the location and site selection of a technology selection part. Then labor situations. Labor situations means that particular locality, whatever you are going to choose, the labors are easily available, or there is a labor problem, whether you need to provide them facilities for residents, or easily they have their own residence, like that. Okay, labor situations have to be studied. Then government policies means if you are having a stone quarry nearby, then you cannot construct a house nearby, or if there are houses and if there is a stone quarry to be established, again it will not be uh, done because of the government policies, like that. There are again a lot many other factors. It might be the other factors might be the political factors, social factors, economical factors, financial constraints. All those things act in the part of location and site selection. The machinery and equipment, the technical analysis of a project idea should be including the study of required machinery and equipment to run the project. Okay, the requirement machinery and equipment means what kind of technologies are there available in market. The machinery and technology required depends on the plant capacity and the type of technology selected. So type of project plans. What are the different type of project plans? I told you there are 4 M's. We call the 4 M's. The resources means there will be 4 M's. M, 4 M's. What are those 4 M's? It might be manpower, machinery, material, and money. Okay, that is what we call the resources. These resources only we are supposed to plan. Okay, that is called as type of project plans. These are the different resources where you are going to plan. So we have to plan for a time plan, manpower plan, material plan, construction equipment plan, and finance plan. Finance plan is nothing but again money. So I told you there are 4 M's: manpower, material, machinery, and money within a time bound. Okay, that is called as resources planning. That is comes under types of project plan. Activities of construction planning involves. What are the different activities of construction planning involves? The first and foremost activity, the first step. Okay, you are going to define the scope of work. Okay, I told you if it is a residential project, what is the scope of work for residential project? The scope of work for residential project is to construct a house, to construct a building for residential purpose. Okay, that is called as defining the scope of work. What are the different identify activities involved? The second step is identify activities involved. What are those activities involved? The activities involved might be starting from excavation. I told you first you are going to select a site, that is activity number 1. Once you select a site, the second activity 2 will be surveying, activity 3 will be excavation, activity 4 will be uh, laying of footing, activity 5 will be laying of plinth beam, activity 6 will be columns, activity 7 will be slab and beam, concreting for slab and beam, then activity 8 will be brickwork, like that. For that complete project, what are the different various activities involved? You are going to note it down. Once the project has been freezed, once the technology has been freezed, then you are going to identify various activities involved for the project. Okay, that is the second step in construction planning, that is identify activities. Okay, the third activity involved in construction planning is establish project duration. So in the second step, what you have done, you have identified the various activities involved in a project. The first activity I told you, site identification. For site identification, how many days you require? Okay, let us assume you require some 15 days. So the 15 days is the duration for that activity number one. Then comes site surveying. Surveying, okay, how many days you might require for site surveying? 2 days I require for site surveying. That is the activity 2, that is surveying requires 2 days. Then comes activity 3, excavation. How many days you require for excavation? 3 days I require for excavation. Likewise, for each and every activity, what you have noted down that for particular project, you are going to allocate the time durations. That is what we call it as establishing project duration. Okay. Next comes define procedures for controlling and assigning resources. What actually procedures you are going to do in controlling and assigning resources means, in excavation I require some 5 laborers. In excavation I require some 2 site engineers. In excavation I require uh, some backhoe or front shovel or some machinery. Okay, these are called as the procedures and assigning resources. So what are the procedures? How you are going to proceed with the work? Okay, first, which part of the area has to be excavated? All these things will be planned in the third activity of construction planning. The fourth step in construction planning is developing appropriate interfaces. What do you mean by developing appropriate interfaces? Interfaces means you are going to connect activities. So once excavation has been done, which activity has to be started next? Okay, once foundation has been laid, which activity has to be started next? Or if any of the activities can be started parallelly, or if any activities has to be finished parallelly, all these things is called as developing appropriate interfaces. You are going to provide the relationship between the activities, that is we call it as developing appropriate interfaces. Okay, then once you develop all the appropriate interfaces, you prepare a plan. Okay, then once you prepare a plan, you allot the resources, you allot the time. Okay, you develop the relationship between the activities, the project starts. Once the project starts, what you will be doing after a certain period of time, after 1 month or 2 months or after 1 week or 2 weeks, you are going to review whether it is going as per the plan or not, whether the planned thing is actually happening as per the plan or not. That is called as monitoring and dissemination of information. Okay, then after 1 week, whatever the progress has to be happened, it has happened. If it is not followed, then what you are going to do? You are going to rectify it. You are going to change the plan, or you are going to make a revisions in plans. So what happens for once you do revisions in plan? If you do revisions in plan, definitely will be again try to cope up with the older plan. Okay, you want to cope up with the older plan, or you have planned something, you have to finish it within 3 months of time. So to finish it within 3 months of time, after 1 month you review the project, it will be delayed. So to cope up with that delay, again you revise your plan and you want to finish it within that specified 5 month duration. Okay, that is the revision in plan comes into picture. Okay, then what are the different project management tools we are having? So project management tools means we have a project plan, okay, a milestone checklist. Project plan means you plan everything using some softwares. Usually we use MS Excel or MS Project. Like that we have project management softwares also. Primavera P6 we are having, SureTrack. There are many project management softwares available in market. You can use this project management software for understanding the not actually understanding, for planning in project. It might be construction project, it might be some hospital project, or it might be any kind of project. For project management, here whatever the discussion made about project management tools is a very broad view. Means these are the generalized project management tools. Not I am not dealing here exclusively project management tools for construction activity. It is in general. So the project plan is there, the milestone checklist is there, the Gantt chart or a bar chart. The Gantt chart, I think I had shown in lecture number 2. I was discussing life cycle of a construction project, right? It was plotted against a Gantt chart. Okay, so there are many project management softwares like Primavera, P6MS project. Then we have conventional methods like a Gantt chart or a bar chart. We have MS Excel um, sheets where we are going to review, you are going to update everything from the site office. You will be getting the input from the site office, and you will be updating using the Excel sheet also. Then we have project review meetings that we'll be doing even and very often, usually monthly. We call them it as monthly progress report, weekly progress report, and daily progress report. Okay, those things are done for project reviews, and we have delivery reviews. Delivery reviews means the completion time for each of the activities, whether it has been delivered to the customer or whether it has been delivered to the next person. Okay, we have relationships, right? The first, once excavation has been completed, the next activity will be foundation, whether the excavation has been delivered to the foundation. That all this delivery reviews will be done. Okay, so that is one of the project management tool. And we have scorecards. Scorecards are one of the methods you are going to um, uh, verify using the scorecards. Then comes work breakdown structure, defining work tasks. So now we have identified what are the different activities involved in project. So in my earlier lecture, I told you the project might be defined into different phases: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, like that. So if phase 1 is there, what are the different activities involved in phase 1? Okay, we will be defining all the work packages for phase 1. So what do you mean by work breakdown structure? Work breakdown structure means it is a systematic division of a project into work packages, sub-work packages, and activities. Okay, what do you mean by work package? I am going to construct a house. Let us assume I am going to construct a house. The construction of house involves many activities. Let me take an example of the construction of wall. The project is house here. Okay, here you can see the project is construction of house here. The work packages involved in the construction of house might be the excavation, the wall construction, and the painting, like that. There are different work packages. If I take wall construction as one of the work packages, under wall construction, what are the different sub work packages then? So sub work packages means under wall construction there might be stacking up of bricks. Okay, stacking up of concrete bricks or hollow bricks or clay bricks, whatever it might be. Those comes under sub work packages, and sub work packages again has different activities. Okay, that is called any systematic division of a project into work packages, sub work packages, and activities. As a whole, if I say a construction of residential building is one project, phase A, phase B, phase 3 are different work packages. Then phase 1 has different sub work packages, and under phase 1, under sub work packages, again there might be division of the activities. That is, we call it as a work breakdown structure. Okay, in project, okay, in the project, the first in a project, what you will be defining? You will be defining the overall scope of the project. In the project, you will be defining the overall scope of the project. In work package, what you will be defining? You will be defining the project deliverable. In work packages, you will be defining the project deliverable. In sub work packages, you will be subdivision of deliverables. You are going to subdivide the deliverables. So in activities, we will be defining the discrete work steps or a detailed work steps in the last activities part. Okay, this is what we call work breakdown structure. Okay, let me brief you. A work breakdown structure is nothing but a systematic division of a project into work packages, sub work packages, and activities. If a project is having a larger scope, then phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 might be work packages. That phase 1 might be divided into sub work packages and activities. Okay, that we call it as a systematic division of a project into work packages, sub work packages, and activities. That is, we call it as work breakdown structure. Okay, once work breakdown structure has been done and the planning stage has been completed, then we are going to do the scheduling. The second step of project management, or one of the project management function, is scheduling. What you are going to do in scheduling? Now you have planned everything. You have planned what resources you require, what are the activities involved in a project, okay, what technology you are supposed to adapt. All these things you have identified in the planning stage of a construction project. Then now the second step you are going to do is scheduling. Okay, now you are going to schedule those activities what have you have identified in the planning. Now we are going to determine the sequences and timings of activities of the project and time frame for the project. So within how many days your project has to be finished. So for one activity, how much duration has to be allocated, and what are the relationship between activity A and activity B, whether they are interconnected or whether they are independent of each other. If there are activities A, B, C, D, E, F, activity A and C, whether it is connected, activity A and D, whether it is connected, or activity A and D is starting together, or activity A and E is starting together, or activity A finishes and activity E finishes. Okay, like that, you are going to determine the sequence and timings for the activities of a project, and frame for the complete project will be estimated here. Once you finish all the time frame for the project, effective utilization of the resources will be done. Then time cost relationship will be established in the scheduling part. Steps in project scheduling. What are the various steps involved in project scheduling? You are going to identify the activities involved in the project. You are going to estimate the work content for each of the activity. Uh, means the scope of the work, how much labors you requires, how much time is required, how much cost is required, like that. Estimating duration of the activities, establishing the logic. Logic means, as I told you, activity A and B, whether it is going to start together or once activity is completed, the B is going to start, like that. The logical relationship between the activities will be established in project scheduling. Then drawing the schedule. The schedule means you might use some bar chart, Gantt chart, or that project management tools for drawing the schedule. Then the analysis of schedule. Analysis of the schedule means whether this is feasible schedule, or whether you are going to rectify the schedule, or this schedule is as per the standards or not. If it is not um, as per the standards, or whether it is not feasible, then you are going to update the new schedule. What are the different scheduling techniques involved? There are two different major categorization of scheduling techniques. The first categorization of scheduling techniques is non-network scheduling techniques, and the other type of techniques is network scheduling techniques. What are the, again, not network techniques means what? Non-network techniques means you are not going to draw a network, or you are not going to provide the relationship within a network diagram. That is called as non-network techniques. It might be a bar chart or a Gantt chart. In terms of a bar chart or a Gantt chart, you plot x against y, axis x against axis y, using in a bar graph or some against a table. That we call it as bar chart or a Gantt chart. The other methods we are having is linear scheduling method and time chainage diagram, time versus chainage diagram. Usually in the highway project, against time, what is the chainage of work execution that has to be completed. Okay, that type of scheduling technique is called as also non-network type of technique, that is a time versus chainage diagram. The other type of non-network technique is uh, line of line of balance technique. Okay, line of balance technique. Okay, other different types of techniques we are having, the network scheduling techniques. It is CPM. CPM means critical path method. Okay, CPM means critical path method. Okay, so critical path method means we are having, it is one of the technique. Um, we are going to define a critical path. Okay, critical path, again I will be discussing what actually is critical path method, and a PRT or a PERT, we call it as program evaluation review technique. Okay, program evaluation review technique. These are the network type of scheduling techniques. Network scheduling techniques, there are series of nodes and arrows. Okay, we call it as activity on arrow type of network scheduling, and activity on node type of network scheduling. What actually is activity on arrow type of network scheduling? Okay, that I'll be discussing. If you are representing the activities on the arrow, then we call it as activity on arrow. Okay, there the duration also will be mentioned on the arrow. But whereas in the activity on node, we'll be mentioning the activities in the junction. Okay, and also the duration will be mentioned on the junction. That is called as activity on node. That is series of activities, series of nodes and arrows. So what do you mean by activity and what do you mean by event? Activities is a discrete work step required for project completion. It consumes time and resources. Okay, if I say excavation is an activity, excavation is an activity means it is a one work step. Excavation is a one work step, okay, which is required for a project completion. And excavation involves some time. Excavation, for executing the excavation, it requires some time, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, like that. It consumes some time and resources. Resources means it requires some labor or site supervisor. It requires some equipments, machineries. The excavation requires some time and resources. That is why we call excavation as an activity. Okay, that is activity. But event is nothing but an instantaneous occurrence during the progress of work. So once you complete an excavation, you say there is a uh, review that has to be done. Okay, once the excavation has been completed, you are going to review all the activities which are before that event. Okay, that event is nothing but that particular junction or that particular point where you are going to review the progress of the work. That is why we call event as an instantaneous occurrence during the progress of work. The event signifies the specific occurrence or the substantial completion of a work. It doesn't require resources or time. The junction, wherever you are going to fix up an event, I say uh, I say there is one event on the 20th day. That is, on 20th day, you are going to review the progress of the site. That reviewing progress of site does not require any resources, does not require time. But whereas activities require time. Yeah, on 20th day, before 20th day, you might have done excavation, you might have done some brickwork, you might have done surveying. All those excavation, brickwork, surveying is a activities. But on the 20th day, you are going to review is not a activity, it is just a event. Okay. Hope you have understood the difference between activity and event. The estimating activity duration, each activity, work activity has an associated time durations. Usually these durations are extensively in preparing a schedule. So as a qualified engineer or a experienced engineer, usually they will be knowing how much is the duration for each activity based on the site requirements or based on the available constraints. The project manager or engineer, the project manager or engineer would be able to tell what are the requirements for the durations based on the previous experience or the expertise in their field. Okay, here you can see I told you there are two types of representation of activities, that is activity on arrow and activity on node. Here if you see this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 are nothing but these are the events. Okay, these are the junctions. But whereas A, B, C, D, E, F, G is called as an activity. A, B, C, D, E, F, G is called an activity. This A, B, C, D, E, F, G is an activity. If I represent A consumes 3 days, if I show here as 3, below A if I represent as 3, then that is activity A consumes 3 days. If I represent 4 below the activity B, it means activity B consumes 4 days. Similarly, activity C, D, E, F, G. See, now I have provided relationships. This activity has been provided with the relationship. This is a network type of technique. Okay, this is the network type of technique. Now you can see this is an activity on node type of network. I told you in previous slide the activities were mentioned on the arrows. Okay, activities now are in the junction. Okay, it was on the arrow earlier. Here it is on the node A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You can see these are at the junction. This type of technique we call it as activity on node. We have two types of representation, that is activity on arrow and activity on node. The second type of representation, whatever here I am showing, is activity on node. Okay, estimating resource requirement for work activities. Estimation is done for each of the activity. Total resources required for the projects are sum of the resources required for various activity. Requirements for particular resources during the course of the project. Potential bottlenecks can be identified and scheduled. Resource allocation or technology changes made to avoid problems. You can use coding systems. Coding systems means see, excavation, I cannot write complete activities name on the arrow. I cannot write a surveying on the arrow. Okay, this complete name of the activities cannot be written on the arrow. So what I'll do, I'll name them. Excavation as A, surveying as B, concreting as some C, brickwork as D. Like that I am going to provide code for each of the activities. That is what we are going to do in the coding system. Project monitoring and control. The third step of project management function is project monitoring and control. So in what we are going to do in control is we are going to compare actual versus planned. So you might have done planning for some activities. So the planned activity, whether it is as per schedule, that we are going to compare in controlling system. If there is any deviation from the actual process, then you are going to rectify it. You are going to provide the corrective actions. That is called as project control. Project controlling comes into picture after scheduling and after commencement of work. Once work has been completed, after certain period of time, you are going to verify, or you are going to um, update the progress of the plan. So here this pictorial representation will help you to understand what actually is project control. You have some base plan. Initially, before the commencement of project, you have made a base plan. You have scheduled, scheduled, you have allocated resources. You prepare some budget for that project. The scope of works of that complete project has been made. Okay, but after some days, after some month or a week or some period of time, you check the actual status of the project. What you will be comparing in the actual status? Again, you will be verifying the schedule, you will be verifying the budget, you will be verifying the scope of the project, whether it is the base plan actual status is as per the base plan or not. Okay, but if you see any deviations, whether it is not as per the plans in the budget, schedule and scope, then you are going to definitely it will be impacting on the schedule, budget and scopes. Then you will be implementing the corrective actions. Corrective actions means you are going to rectify, or you are going to repair, or you are going to revise some base plans. It might be again to the schedule, budget and scope. Then that revised base plan will be revised plan will be replacing your actual base plan. Again, then for some more period of time you will be using this revised plan. Again, you will be this checking the actual status. If there are deviations, again corrective actions. This is a cyclic procedure. Okay, this is project control steps. That is gather facts and data, analyze data and progress into reports, predict likely outcome of current course of a project, take corrective actions and controllable elements in project. That is, you can, what are the things you can control in a project? It is a schedule, time, progress control, cost control, quality control. I'll be discussing about the cost control in my further slides. So what do you mean by schedule, time, progress control? You have established some targets, against you have established some milestones. You are going to whether identify, or you are going to check whether those milestones has been achieved or not. If those milestones haven't achieved, you are going to replan for those achievement of milestones. So if the as each target event occurs, compare actual against targeted performance. Assess the effect of performance to date on future progress. If necessary, replan so as to achieve original targets or to reach as close as possible in achieving them. Requires appropriate action from those directly responsible for the various activities. I told you a monthly progress report. For reviewing, we have monthly progress report, daily progress report, weekly progress report. Measuring progress at the site, what are the different procedures we are going to involve, the quantities installed on day-to-day basis, what are the quantities installed, what are the percentage that has been completed, what are the effort by the support services, milestones reached tied to contract terms, and whether as per the contract terms they have done payment. 2-point measurements and single point measurements are the techniques we are going to use for measuring progress at the site. Typical reports to aid progress review, actual versus planned, using bar chart or again any project management tools. 2-month look ahead plan, 1 week look ahead plan, like that look ahead plans we are going to implement at the site. Cost control is one of the technique. The project cost control involves 3-step process. Observe cost expended for an item, compare with the standards, that is actual cost of work that has been estimated earlier, that we call it as is, compute variances of observed, and standards, warnings followed by corrective actions has to be mentioned in cost control. Importance of a simple system is less people, less response time, variance found before completion of the activity. Collection of cost for a project involves different various set of people are involved in this collection of a cost. Those people might be planning and billing engineer, plant and equipment engineer, timekeeper and storekeeper, accountants and office staff. So see, it looks very simple. These people are involved. It looks very simple, but actually it is highly difficult to coordinate between these people. It is very difficult to detect variance in cost among different activities. What is cost control? It is a process of cost code generation, allocation, and comparison are difficult in real life. Cost control systems. We are having 2 types of cost control systems, that is profit or loss at the completion of contract. Initially you take up some project, at the end of the project you see whether the project has attained a loss or whether the project has attained profit. Okay, this is one way of assessing the project. The other way of assessing the project is stage wise completion. I have completed phase 1. So for after completion of phase 1, what is the profit, what is the loss, or what is the progress that has been completed after phase 1, or what is the delay has happened after the phase 1. Okay, that is stage wise completion report is one of the technique or way for the cost control system. The other ways are standard costing, which is adapted in very manufacturing industries. The most important method of cost control system is S curve. S curve means it is a typical uh, curve which follows pattern of S, the shape of S. Usually in any project you take up, the project will be slow at the beginning, but when it reaches the mid stage, it will be attaining very rapid progress. It will be attaining very high speed progress, but again at the end it will be slow. So this mode or this way of a progress profile is called as S curve. Okay, so we have 2 types of S curve. The first S curve is called as the actual curve, means once you plan, based on that initial plan, you plot a curve that is called as an initial curve. But after some period, you are going to review the project. Okay, after some 10 days or 1 month, you are going to again plot the S curve based on that data, based on the actual status data. That is called as a second curve. Here you can see, okay, this is the actual S curve, the planned S curve. So there is some delay in the project. You can see it is represented by using dotted line. So when it comes to the time axis, which has been represented here, time axis, there is a delay. If you consider the y axis, that is underspent. Okay, that is a, this is a time delay, this is a cost delay. Okay, so S curve, amount built till day of monitoring will be less than planned, is less than planned. If you refer that older curve, the explanation has been given here. Amount built till day of monitoring is less than planned. Hence, the second curve runs below. If it is the monitoring is more than the planned, definitely the second curve will be above the first curve. Okay, this condition for that previous graph you saw is called as an underspent condition. Okay, again you can draw a bar chart weekly, monthly basis. You can plot three curves. The first one is a budgeted curve, revised curve, and the actual cost curve. Okay, you can see here in this graph there are three curves. The first curve is actual cost curve, the second curve is revised cost curve, the third curve is budgeted cost curve. Unit costing is one of the procedure where the project cost report is prepared based on the monthly basis. Okay, why it is essential is it will be helpful in assisting the reviewing the cost per every month. Every monthly we have to review it, right? So for that purpose, this unit costing will be helpful. Comparison will be done once you prepare the unit costing. The comparison will be done with the actual cost. Initial plan we have made, initial bill of quantities will be made. If that matches, if that unit costing once you do, if it matches with the sales price or a bid price, you will be attaining no profit or no loss. But if it is lower than the bid rate, it will be estimated profit. If it is higher than the bid rate, then you will be anticipating the loss. Okay, basic input will be given by the cost statement. Planning engineer will be preparing the project cost report. Site accountant will be giving you the input cost statement. The close coordination between all these persons, that is basic input, planning engineer and site account, is required for this purpose of unit cost. Steps involved in unit costing: first, setting up of cost code. Then second step is preparation of cost statement. Third step is preparation of project cost report. Usually it will be prepared by planning engineer. The steps prepared as follows is: estimate to date, ED is equal to CD by QD. CD means cost on the for the date and QD is quantity for that date. Estimate for balance quantity, EB is equal to cost is balance at that date, quantity balance on that date. Revised estimate, ER is equal to CR, cost revised divided by quantity revised. How we are going to calculate? It is equal to CD plus CB divided by QD plus QB. Original estimate is given by EO or E naught, that EO is equal to CO divided by QO. Variance is equal to V. Variance V is equal to EO minus ER. This is a typical representation of table to calculate ED, EB, ER revised as per the date, balance, revised, okay, original, okay, variance. You can, for each of the quantities you can mention and what actually deviation is there. You can directly formulate it in a table. So why there is a delay? For example, concrete, how much is the unit of measurement, what was the estimated quantity, why, what actually is the balance quantity, what is the revised quantity, what is the original quantity, what is the variance, and what is the remark for delay or what is the remark for early completion. Like that you can prepare a, this is a sample project cost report. So you have one more technique called as EVM. EVM means earned value management. So what actually is the idea of EVM? EVM is the value of a product increases as tasks are completed. It measures the real progress of the report. The same way we have done in unit costing, right? In the same way we are going to prepare one more report using the technique called as earned value management. So it involves the concept of work package and earned value to analyze the performance. It informs us regarding the progress to be achieved on the schedule, whether Resources spent are commensurate with the budget used to forecast likely course of the project using extrapolation techniques. Okay, you can see there is a work breakdown structure. There will be a master schedule, implementation of EVM for all the activities. Okay, the basics of EVM, I will be explaining the complete EVM concept here in this graph itself. As I told you, we are going to follow the S curve, S curve for cost unit costing. So here you can see there is a S curve. Here you can see the actual cost of work performed. BCWP means budgeted cost of work performed. ECWP means actual cost of work performed. BCWS means budgeted cost of work scheduled. Okay, if you this BAC means budget at completion, EAC means estimated completion. We have a time duration in x-axis and we have a y amount in y-axis. If you find the difference between the budgeted cost of work performed minus budgeted cost of work scheduled, you will be getting a schedule variance. If you find out the difference between the actual budgeted cost of work performed minus actual cost of work performed, you will be getting the cost variance. Okay, the final formulas. Okay, you can use these formulas for identifying the schedule variance. Schedule variance is equal to budgeted cost of work performed minus budgeted cost of work scheduled. Cost variance is equal to budgeted cost of work performed minus actual cost of work performed. Based on those data, relevant data, we get it right. So using those data, we are going to identify the performance index. And what are those performance index? SPI means scheduled performance index. How this scheduled performance index will be calculated? Scheduled performance index will be calculated using this formula: BCWP by BCWS, budgeted cost of work performed divided by budgeted cost of work scheduled. If SPI is less than 1, then the project is said to be behind schedule. It is behind the schedule. If cost performance index CPI is equal to budgeted cost of work performed divided by actual cost of work performed. If this CPI is less than 1, we say it is a cost overrun. If it is greater than 1, then you are more profited. If the cost performance index is greater than 1, they say it is a more profitable. If schedule performance index is greater than 1, we say it is ahead of schedule, means you are ahead of the schedule whatever you have been made at the planning stage. This is a tabular representation of estimate of completion. Estimate of completion is equal to actual cost of work performed plus estimate to completion. Estimate to completion is the initial budget what you have made or initial plan you have made. Okay, these are some formulas. EAC is equal to actual cost of work performed divided by budgeted cost of work performed into BAC. It assumes that the burn rate will be the same for the remainder of the project. EAC means estimated completion. Okay, BAC divided by cost performance index. Like that, we have EAC for different criteria. We have different calculation of EAC, estimated completion. Okay, this is a summary of the project. We had discussed about planning, scheduling, controlling. Okay, planning, how planning will be done, what are the activities involved in planning, what are the technical analysis you have to do, how the technological selection has to be made, how the schedule has to be prepared, how the controlling procedure has to be done. In controlling procedure, you might need to um, identify the base plan against the actual status, and actual status, if there is a delay or if there is changes to be made, that is called as revisions has to be adapted in the base plan, then new plan will be coming again. This continuous procedures we had studied. After that, I had discussed about the cost control curves, that we call it as S curves, as well as earned value management concepts. Hope you have understood the concepts of planning, scheduling, and controlling. These three are called as a basic project management functions. Hope you have understood the concepts of all these basic project management functions. Thank you.